The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Welcome back, the entire Premier League, to this very, very special show. Firstly, thank you to our sponsors and continued sponsors, Dental on the Banks, for all of their support of this channel. Now, of course, we are on the verge of the 24-25 Premier League season. And we welcome in to the Premier League Southampton, the side just down the M27. It's great to have you back. Also, Leicester City make a return after one season. And Ipswich Town, a side who have won back-to-back promotions under Kieran McKenna. What a story that is. There's also going to be a lot of sides looking over their shoulder. What we're doing today is we're going to find out from an expert and a former manager just who they may be. Now, of course, he's been on this channel several times. He's the former manager of AFC Bournemouth, a former manager of West Ham United, Portsmouth, Southampton, Birmingham City, Tottenham Hotspur. It is, of course, our season preview show with the one and the only Harry Redknapp. Welcome back to the show, Harry. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, Craig. Thank you.
Good, good. And thank you so much again for joining us. Of course, we've had a summer of football and got to the final once again, but unfortunately couldn't get over the line. How impressed was you with Gareth Southgate and the team?
Not very impressed at all.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I thought we were poor. I thought we were very lucky to get to the final. I thought we had the best of the draw. There were 6 decent teams in the Euros, and 5 of them end up in one half of the draw. Mm-hmm. And we had the easiest passage through you've ever seen. Yeah. So we were always searched to get to the final, even though we didn't deserve to get there. You know, I think if we'd have got beat by Slovakia, it probably would have been a worse result than losing to Iceland back in the day under Roy Hodgson. So no, I couldn't say it was. I went into the tournament with that group of players feeling as confident as could ever be that we would win it. We had an amazing group of players on paper, but unfortunately, the way we played, the negativity of the team, I thought we were very, very average.
The question is now, and I'll ask you this firstly, because of course it does affect one team in particular, is where do we go? And of course, Eddie Howe's name has been mentioned. What a story it would be from taking our club from minus 17 in League Two to potentially winning the World Cup, which I think with that group of players is possible.
Yeah, I don't know about winning the World Cup. Just managing England is a fantastic achievement, isn't it, for Eddie? So that would be amazing. But yeah, as you say, with that group of players, you would think there is certainly a Euros or a World Cup to be won with them. So who knows? But whether he'll leave today in the paper, they're saying they're not so sure that he will leave Newcastle. There's not really a lot of runners, is there, that jump out at you?
No.
You know, Potter, it's, I don't know really. I think Eddie would be my choice, but whether he wants it is another matter.
He is a manager, of course, we know likes the 9 to 5, or as I always say, 6 o'clock in the morning to about 8 o'clock in the evening. That is what Eddie Howe likes, being hands-on with a football club, like he was here at Bournemouth, like he was at Burnley, and like he is at Newcastle. But if that opportunity does come along for him, surely he's got to take it with both hands, considering the group of players we've got.
Yeah, you'd have thought so. And not only that, even if you haven't, Craig, I think just to manage your country is going to be special. You know, to manage England would be, okay, he'd have to take a massive drop in wages probably. But to manage your country is something that everybody wants to do at one stage. It's a dream come true for him. So yeah, I would think he'd find it very hard to turn down. But the big stumbling block to the FA would be compensation to Newcastle. Long contract, massive compensation. Whereas they can go and pick up a Potter or somebody, Lee Carsley, no compensation, ready to move in. Would they look? They'd probably look at that. I wouldn't surprise me if that was a big factor in it.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I'll tell you what, let's also discuss very quickly one thing that did come under the spotlight last season, and that was the profit and sustainability rules that were introduced. And of course, Everton had a 10-point deduction, reduced to 6, then they added another 2. Nottingham Forest were also subject to a points deduction as well. But Harry, I do owe you a nice bottle of wine as well, because I did say Everton were going to go down, but Sean Dyche did a pretty good job considering. But
Yeah.
with this PSR, what do you make of it, Harry? Because I don't like that all these teams are getting points deductions.
No, nor do I. Nor do I. I mean, who knows the rules? There's ways around it. So now clubs are selling their best homegrown players to balance it. I don't know, Craig. They come up with these stupid rules. I don't know. I can't understand it. What's going on half the time. But it's coming to something. You've got to sell. Eddie Howe's had to sell one of his or two of his best young kids to balance the books. To get it's very complicated. The man in the street doesn't understand it. I think it's crazy. If a club wants to spend money and they when they come in, they have to prove that they're capable of running a football club. They have to go for all the checks, and surely they're entitled. They must have the money. It's up to them if they want to spend it. Otherwise, if you can't bring players in, what chance clubs coming up? Clubs, we're never going to get the dream. It's just going to be the big six up the top all the time, like it is most years.
Yeah.
For a club to move up through the ranks, if you can't, it's all. I don't know. No, it's not for me. I wish they'd do away with it.
Yeah, most definitely. And like you say, I always think if Bill Foley wants to spend money to improve this football club,
Yeah.
he can't. His hands are a bit tied. And being able to break into that top 6, is a dream now. I think it's become tougher.
Oh yeah. But listen, I mean, we're Bournemouth fans. Whoever thought we'd be in the Premier League? I was saying to someone the other day, if you'd have said to me Bournemouth would be in the Premier League one time, I'd have thought you was off your head. I mean, people that don't understand, who haven't been around very long, the history of the football club. 100 years, never been out of Division 3 or 4. And now playing in the Premier League, not just playing, being a very, very good Premier League team, that could finish in the top half again this year.
Yep, most definitely, and fingers crossed. And we'll come on to Bournemouth right at the end as well. But Everton, I thought, were going to go down. You said that, you didn't think they were. You was proved right, and Sean Dyche did a fantastic job there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Sean did a great job, keeping them up, but they're still in the same mess this year. It seems. Still got the same owners.
And of course, their last season at Goodison Park, it would be a real shame for them to be relegated, considering this move to this fantastic looking stadium.
Yeah, Everton's a big football club. You've got great fans, very knowledgeable fans. They're one of the great clubs in English football. So you hate to see, again, it comes down to ownership. If the club gets in the wrong hands, anything can happen, can't it? Disaster can strike, So, and that's how it's been at Everton, been mismanaged, really. Not by Bill Kenwright. Bill Kenwright was a true Evertonian, lovely man, But obviously he didn't have the clout, the money to take it where they wanted to go. So other people get involved and they come in and I don't know, you wouldn't know. They tell me it's a real mess behind the scenes, who owns what, whose money it is, where it's come from. Who knows?
Nottingham Forest, of course, did sack Steve Cooper. and
Yeah,
bought in Nuno Espirito Santo, of course, formerly at Wolves. They managed to survive, albeit, to be honest, with the bottom three as they were, it was, I say by the skin of their teeth, it was probably a bit more comfortable than that.
yeah, they did well in the end to survive. But it showed how difficult it is. You come up from the Championship to stay in the Premier. It's not easy. It's a very difficult job. The three teams coming up this year, it'd be lovely to see them all stay up. It would be, but it's going to be hard. If last year 3 up, 3 down, this year Southampton coming up, Ipswich. They'll be interested in how they do against Ipswich. They could, and Leicester sound like they've got problems as well. With the money. So, all three of them. I think all three have got a chance of, got a fighting chance anyway this year of staying up. There's not one of them I look at and say, well, there's certs to go down. I would think there's there's a good possibility all three could go, but there's also a chance that they could all stay up this year. I certainly think that one of them, I don't know which one, will survive, at least one of them.
Of course, Leicester have a points deduction hanging over their head as
Yeah,
well, which I think is really, really unfair on them. And it needs to be sorted. Would you agree, Harry, that
yeah.
before the season kicks off?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the chances of them staying up anyway are, it's going to be difficult enough, let alone a point deduction as well coming their way. It will make it very trebly difficult for them. So, yeah, it needs sorting out. But how did, one club gets done. We keep hearing about Man City. Nothing happens there. Why is that? I don't know. I mean, it seems that they've committed as many or more breaking the rules than any other team. But we don't seem to hear nothing. Not that I want anything to happen. I don't want to see anything to happen to any of the teams. So I just wish it would all go away and we could all just get on and play the football.
Definitely, definitely. Saints, though, are back in the Premier League. Actually, I'm really, really pleased to see them back. I know a lot of people say, well, Bournemouth fans, should be hoping that Saints stay down. I'm pleased to see them back as a local team. And they've spent well. And I think, what they've done, the business they bought in, bringing back Adam Lallana and the players they've also bought in, I think gives them a bit of a fighting chance.
Yeah. Yeah, Russell Martin did a good job. They play a certain brand of football. They keep the ball, and that they'll play the same way. That's the way he plays the game. They'll come into this division, into the Premier, and they'll look to play from the back, and it'll be possession-based football. Whether it can, whether they're good enough to do that in the top level, only time will tell. And again, I don't know whether they've got a striker. Armstrong did great last year. Can he score the goals in the Premier? He's a smashing little player. Che Adams, it looks like he's going or gone. So, yeah, they're short up front. Can they stay up? It's going to be the problem you have, Craig. You look at this, probably like 6 or 7 teams you could say could go down.
Yeah.
At the start of the year. So the teams that come up are 3 of them for sure. After that, there's maybe another 4 teams you'd put into that bracket. After that, there's 10 of them that have got no chance of going down. From Chelsea to Tottenham to whoever. Then none of them are going to go to Man Uniteds and all the big clubs. They're going to stick. They're not going to be in relegation battles. So it's very tough to stay up for the 3 teams that do come up. But there's a few clubs this year I can see might get dragged into it. Clubs that have done very well to survive the last couple of years, but they're going to be in another scrap again this year.
Ipswich, of course, a couple of seasons ago were in League One, and they've managed to keep hold of Kieran McKenna, which is great business for them.
Yeah.
They've also brought in some really good players. When you think about it, 2 years ago, they were playing Bracknell Town in the first round of the FA Cup. Now they're playing in the Premier League, and he's done an absolutely unbelievable job.
Yeah. Oh, he has, yeah, for sure. But Ipswich is a club with real tradition. Again, it's I go back to the days of the Bobby Robson times and before, the great teams that Bobby produced and fantastic players that he produced. People like Alan Brazil, who we listen to every day on Talk Sport now. They're great players. Kevin Beattie and people like that. The top draw. They produced fantastic teams. Then George Burley had a team that I think probably finished third or whatever in the Premier a few years. So yeah, they've got history behind them. They have been so it's great to see them back up again. It's a smashing football club, Ipswich. Always had a good reputation. It's just a club that you'd like to see do well. It's a real good. It was always a good place to go and play. It was always the fans were always good people. There was nothing nasty about the place, and so it's nice to see them back in the Premier. And Kieran McKenna's done a great job.
Fulham and Brentford are two sides that personally I think are going to be in trouble this season. Brentford, of course, look to be losing Ivan Toney. Fulham haven't really done much in the transfer window so far, but Marco Silva has done a good job there, as has Thomas Frank at Brentford. But
yeah,
how do you think those two are going to fare this season?
Well, I agree with you. They could both find it a bit more difficult this year. They've lost a couple of key players, Fulham, haven't they?
Yeah.
But they're trying to get the boy from Arsenal at the moment. Looks like they might get him at Rose Smith, but he might. Looks like he's going to go to Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be a good signing. But they could be one of the teams that could. They're certainly not going to be in the. I wouldn't see them being in the top 8 or 9. They're certainly a team that could be involved in a scrap at some stage at the bottom this year. Both of them. And if Tony goes, will he go? Will he play his contract out and get a massive payday? He might well do. That might be the road he might go down.
What's your thought on Ivan Toney wanting to leave Brentford? Because last season, the club stood by him and, showed faith in him. He come back. And to be honest, when Brentford come down here, although they beat us 2-1, it just seemed like he lacked a little bit of interest. And I feel it's just completely unprofessional if he does choose to actually wind his contract down, because Thomas Frank's the man that's given him that chance.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's difficult one. I think he'll do what he feels he wants to do for himself, and he'll take the option of if he's got a chance to become a free. If he's a free agent, someone's going to give him £30 million signing on fee at least.
Yeah.
40 million. But 40 million is still half price. Someone's going to give him £40 million plus big wages. So he's not going to waste it. He's not going to, he's not going to sit and think, no, it's okay, I'm going to be loyal to Brentford. Because he'll be looking in 10 years' time and he's out of football. Who cares about you, really? That is the way the game is. If you end up skint in 10 years, no one's going to go, poor old Ivan Toney. He's going to make hay while the sun shines, and that's what he's going to do. And so, I couldn't sit here and say, we see it all the time. Look at the players now going to Saudi. We had all the Saudi thing. Oh, we can't play, we shouldn't be going to the World Cup in Saudi, in Qatar. We shouldn't be going out to these countries because of the rule. Suddenly, as soon as they get the opportunity to go and make money, they go. I mean, so we can't be surprised at someone running their contract down, to make a fortune and look after himself for the future. It's that's the way it is. He went there cheap, I suppose. I know they've been loyal to him, as you say, but what could they do, really? They couldn't sack him, could they?
No.
They couldn't sack him otherwise he'd have walked away anyway now. So that sacking was ever an option. See, what happens in football, Craig, if you're not a very good player and you've got a contract and the club want to get rid of you but can't get rid of you because you've got a contract, and suddenly you commit something like the betting, get involved in something that you shouldn't and you get done for it, they will take the opportunity to sack you. For sure. I don't care what club it is. They'll say, okay, you broke the rules. They're not going to look after you if they want to get rid of you. It's like kids. I've seen kids, there might be 3 kids going out on a night out and they do something badly wrong. And one of them's a superstar and the other 2 are not. They'll sack the other 2 probably and keep the kid who's a good one around. That's how it works. So it wouldn't, I don't see, they had no option with Tony to, other than to keep him, really. They could say they couldn't cancel his contract because he was worth 80 million or whatever he's worth. So
Yeah.
they had to keep him, hoping that they will get some money for him. That was their only option. His options are now either to stay or to get sold. If he gets sold, Brentford will make good money. Peterborough are desperate that he gets sold because they've got to sell on. So it'd be interesting to see what route he takes.
And I do get your point. Actually, it's a complete. You're a long time retired, aren't you? That's the
Oh
thing.
yeah, of course. And no one cares. No one cares when there's lads down here can't afford to buy tickets. Who were good players for Bournemouth back in the day can't afford to buy a ticket now, or struggling. No one cares about it. No one gives them tickets. They don't say, okay, there's half a dozen tickets between you lads every week. But it don't happen.
No,
Unfortunately, it should
fair
do.
enough.
A lot of clubs do that now. Really look after the old players. They've got that say that I want to speak to Neil Blake about. I think they say it should be done. If it's only half a dozen tickets every Saturday, every home game to put between a group of the boys. There's so many of them lads that played here for years and years who can never get to a game now and love to go. I think St. I know Everton have got a fantastic ex-players club. Amazing. They look after them when they have operations. They get fall on hard times. A lot of the clubs have got, but I think we should have something like that at Bournemouth, and it's something I've been wanting to get involved, to set up for the lads, really. I would like to do that if possible.
Yeah, most definitely, because they are part of the journey and they're part of the
Absolutely.
reason why we're here.
Absolutely. All them great lads that I had back in the day that got us out this division, and before their time, a lot of good lads around Bournemouth still who were good players, great servants to the club. If you only have a handful of tickets every week between them, I'm sure there's enough corporate tickets go out free to other people who've not got no interest or never done anything in football in their lives. But I think I'm all for looking after ex-players a little bit better.
Most definitely. Well, one ex-player of yours is a Gary O'Neill who did an absolutely fantastic job at Wolves last season because they were in turmoil when he turned up. A
Yeah.
couple of days before the season kicked off, Lopetegui left, O'Neill come in, and although the season kind of fizzled out because of the team depth and the fatigue they had, um, how surprised are you, or not surprised, of how well Gary's done?
No, I wasn't surprised he came. I mean, he did a great job at Bournemouth, didn't he?
Yeah,
It was a real massive shock when he left the club. I really couldn't believe it. It came completely out of the blue. So, no, I had no doubt Gary would do a good job. I'm sure he'll continue to do. He would, as you say, last year, unfortunately, late on, they lost 3 or 4 or 5 of their best players to look out for the season. Very difficult to replace. But they're on a limited budget as well, really, you see, and it could be a tough season for them. They've sold the centre half. Kilman's gone to West Ham. It could be a hard season, but no, Gary has done a wonderful job there, and I hope he can do a good job again this year. But they may be one of the teams that may be in a relegation battle this year as well. I'm not saying they'll go down, but they're not going to be. They certainly, I see them being, in that bottom 8 teams.
there was a lot of criticism of VAR from Gary though as well, and I worked it out last season that they lost around about 10 points from bad VAR decisions. And sometimes the referees and the PGMOL did apologise to Gary and Wolves. Um, with regards to VAR, they did bring it up and did try to abolish it. But 19 teams, the rest of the Premier League, actually voted against them. Where do you stand on VAR?
Yeah, I wonder who was voting on that though, Craig. Would it have been the managers or would it have been chairman?
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine it with the managers. I don't know. Maybe it was. But they do forget sometimes that the game does belong to the fans. And if you're a fan, the last thing, every time you score a goal, you've got to sit there now you can't celebrate because you're waiting for something. Hang on, VAR, 5 minutes, chalked off. It's a game that you go to enjoy, and the instantaneous, that enjoyment, that, passion that when there's a goal scored, the rush you get with it, that's taken away now because you can't celebrate. You're waiting for something to happen before there's a VAR check going on. It is a difficult one. The goal line technology was fantastic. That was a must. That had to come in. Great. But I think it's all gone too far. I mean, we see goals disallowed by, a toe of a boot or something now. It's so fine lines that I don't know. It's not for, I prefer, I'd much prefer, referees to referee and take their chances. Okay, they're going to get some wrong for sure. But we've seen wrong decisions with VAR as well this year. So, it's not foolproof, that's for sure.
Crystal Palace, of course, Oliver Glasner has taken over from Roy Hodgson. Unfortunately, Roy was unwell in the middle of last season. We hope that he is continuing on his road to recovery. But he did a very, very good job towards the back end of the season, Oliver Glasner. But they look like they may lose quite a few players. They've already lost Michael Olise to Bayern Munich. And of course, Gay and Eze after the Euros, who did stand out, I personally thought, in the Euros. They're also under speculation. Do you think it's going to be difficult for them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, the reason he did well, and they did, I'm not saying he did a good job when he came in, but what happened suddenly when he arrived, Eze and Elise they were fit. They came back from long-term injuries, and the two of them playing together were fantastic. And that was the turning point. When they played, Palace were a completely different team. You look at the stats when they played, when they didn't play, it was amazing. And Roy was without them for a long time, and then the new man came in, and they both got fit at more or less the same time, and that was when Palace really took off. And the centre forward as well started scoring goals. Who looked like he could hit a barn door at 10 paces, and suddenly he's come scoring goals from everywhere. Can he do it next year? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
The one thing I've always said about Palace is when Eze and Elise were playing together, they were electric in the middle.
Yeah.
When one of them was injured, it seemed like you got half an Eze or half an Elise. Now Elise's gone to Bayern Munich. How difficult do you think that Eze, if he does stay, will find it without his partner?
Yeah, for sure. I would think his head might be turned now as well, though. He's looking now thinking, hang on, one or two big clubs want him. He's going to want to move. If he's got a chance to go, Tottenham being talked about. He's going to look. He's going to look to he's got into the England squad. I think you'll find it's going to be difficult with Palace to hang on to him. Craig, I think they may well in the centre half, as you say, had a great, had a very, very good Euros. He's another one who'll be thinking, well, hang on, maybe I can go to somewhere, maybe in Man United or someone who comes in for him. They may find it very difficult to hang on to him as well.
Of course, your former team as well, West Ham, have got a new manager, Julian Lopetegui, of course, formerly of Wolves. David Moyes, personally, in my honest opinion, I think did a decent job. I think he did a decent job.
Yeah.
But it seems that the West Ham fans want a different style. And Lopetegui does kind of play the same sort of style as what Iriola and Arteta and Xabi Alonso plays. How difficult do you think it will be for the players that are already there to adapt to that at first?
Well, you can only play that. You can't play that style of football if you haven't got the players to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right for Pep Guardiola to roll the ball out to his centre halves and play out to the fullbacks and come back because they're all comfortable on the ball.
Yeah.
If you're managing other teams, we saw Burnley come up last year and trying to play that way, and they just kept suddenly the ball kept ending up in the back of the net. They kept losing it just outside their own penalty area. It's like, you can only do what you have to play to your strengths. That's where the teams over the years, the Wimbledons, Dave Bassett was a genius. He played to his strengths. he played balls forward 60, 50 yards up the fashion who held it up, and then they turned teams and went and played in their half. And he got balls in the box to people. That's great coaching. It's not everybody suddenly all wants to play like Pep because Pep's got the players to do it. Oh, they can pass. Yeah, they can play from the back. They can play through midfield. They're all comfortable on the ball. If you haven't got them type of players, you've got to play to your strengths. And West Ham haven't got them players. They're not. They've got good players, good footballers, but they're not. West Ham are still dreaming about it was called the academy. I grew up there.
Yeah.
When they produced people like Bobby Moore and all great footballers who could all handle the ball and could all play, and a centre forward called Johnny Byrne who was a genius, and that players. And that's where the academy came from. If you haven't got them players, you've got to play to what you've got. David Moyes did a great job with what he had and played the way he could get the best out of the team. It was a mixture of football and directness. He played to what he had and played players picking the right ball at the right time. So, you got to be careful what you wish for. And the West Ham, the new guy's gone in. They told him he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a good football man. But it's all about good players, Craig. I've said to you before, mate, if you've got good players, you've got a chance. If you haven't, I don't care how clever you think you are, you've got no chance.
And that, I think, was one of my concerns when Andoni Iraola went through that tough spell at the start of last season. I did think, did Bournemouth have those players ready for the Andoni Iraola high press? But I feel that he kind of adapted, didn't he? And went a little bit more direct. And that seemed to work for us.
Yeah, I mean, people had good seasons, and we had there's some good players here. The little left back's an outstanding player.
Yeah.
The centre halves have done well. I mean, the Solanke keeps scoring goals if he stays fit. He's going to get bag you another. He'll be up there again this year, sort of, fifth or sixth in the fourth or fifth or whatever in the leading goal scorer list again. But you rely on him staying fit. But they're making some good signings again. I think they're going to spend more money. I don't see, and so I think that I like the manager. He's been great, but they've got good players. It's a good squad. This is not a squad for a relegation battle. This is a squad way above that.
What do you think we need to do, Harry, to actually get into Europe? Do you think that we need to strengthen significantly, or do you think that continue and hopefully get off to a lot better start than we did last year? Because the start last year was poor, but considering what we did after that, do you feel that we can really push for Europe?
Well, I don't know. It just sounds like when I hear people talk about Bournemouth playing in Europe, I just find it. I just can't believe it, Craig.
Yeah.
I've been around here forever, and I've seen where the club's been, and it just I find it absolutely fantastic. It's an amazing story, but yeah, if they could get into Europe, I just I'm pleased when we get 42, 43 points, and then we can go from there again this year. But I don't see any problem getting there and getting that amount of points. It's not impossible. The football's great. It's a great little stadium to play in. Other clubs don't like coming here playing because it's so tight. It's a throwback to the old, stadiums. So yeah, we can certainly upset a lot of teams again this year. And yeah, who knows where we could finish up? And I don't know how many teams get in Europe. I think it's probably the top 18 now, is it?
Yeah, I think it's.
I'm only joking, Craig.
I think what it is going to be is it's going to be the top four, of course, Champions League. Then it's going to be
Yeah, well,
probably down to.
I doubt we're going to make that, but
No, but one team that did was Aston Villa. Unai Emery, what an
yeah,
outstanding season! But
yeah.
seeing he's now in Europe and in the Champions League, can he actually replicate that?
Top four, no, I don't know, but they've spent money, haven't they, Villa? They're
Yeah.
having a go. They're bringing some good players in. Could they make the top four again? It's possible. I just think Champions League will take a bit out of them. And I see Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, although I am worried a bit about Liverpool next year, Tottenham. Chelsea should do better. You know, Man United surely have got to do better. Newcastle have got to do better next year. You know, Villa, top four is not going to be easy for them, but doing Champions League, what a great adventure again for them. But they were, European Cup winners back in the day under Tony Barton. And they actually were European champions. So, we forget that Villa is one of the big clubs in the country. So, yeah, they're spending, they're both bringing stronger, better players, strengthening the squad. They could well make top four again. I think maybe they're just to finish just out the top four next year, but hopefully they have a good run in the Champions League, which will be great for them.
Yeah, definitely. One team that was in Europe was Brighton, of course, and of course Roberto De Zerbi has left the club.
Yeah.
Fabian Hersler, who's taken St. Pauli back into the Bundesliga for the first time in 10 years, has come in. Do you think that this was all planned, that Hersler was on their radar?
I don't know. Very young man. I don't know why he's not playing football. He should be playing at 31, shouldn't he? Not managing. But anyway, I don't know anything about him, Craig. I've never heard of him, to be honest with you. So it's a big gamble. The manager's left who was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
They tell me. I talked to people, people at Brighton. Talked to Adam Milan, and he said to me he was fantastic. The manager, the Serbi, he thought he was as good as he's ever played under. He thought he was absolutely top drawer, and he's played under some good managers, Adam Lallana, including Jurgen Klopp. So he must have been good for Adam, who was fantastic judge of the game, knowledge of the game. For him to think like that, it must have been very good. So it's a big gamble to give the job to somebody really who's had, he's done okay at somewhere. He's probably had a good team at St. Pauli, but it's a big gamble. It'd be interesting to see how he does.
Yep, definitely. And Manchester United, of course, they finished in 8th last season. Manchester United fans weren't pleased about it. I think
No.
the FA Cup probably saved Eric Ten
Yeah.
Hag's job, but they've really got to be aiming for the Champions League this year. Ineos aren't going to accept anything less, are they?
No. I would think come Christmas, if they're not up there, he could be in trouble, couldn't he? Even though they're talking the new contract or whatever, what is a contract at the end of the day? They've got to pay him, be a buyout clause, an X amount if they sack him to pay him. So, but yeah, listen, if he gets everybody fit, it'd be interesting. The centre half never hardly played, did he? Is it Martinez? Is it Martinez? Martinez, and the centre half. He spent, the Argentinian boy spent all year injured. So if they can keep people like him fit, then they'll probably be okay. But I still think they're miles off it, really. I don't see them being a Champions League team still. I still think they're well off it. But it's going to be an interesting year at the top. I fancy Arsenal this year to win the league.
I've said that last season, but to be honest, they again just fell short.
Yeah.
What does Mikel Arteta have to do?
Only just, Man City, De Bruyne are getting, injuries now. Great player. Cole Walker, best right back in the world probably, but, getting older. But, I think it's a great opportunity for Arsenal this year. They made one signing. They needed a left back or wherever they can obviously see this boy playing left back, I would imagine. Unless he's going to play free at the back, he could do that. Change the system, but then he's got two wingers who, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they play, but I think Arsenal got the ammunition with probably one more good signing to win the league this year.
Is this Pep's last season, do you think, at Manchester City? Because he's won it 4 times in a row.
Yeah, it must be getting boring for him, mustn't it?
Yeah.
He's probably going to have a year out, I reckon, play a bit of golf.
Yeah.
Handicap down to about +1 or something. And then come back and manage any team in the world he wants to manage. He's been fantastic, hasn't he? He was a great footballer, Pep Guardiola. People forget what a player he was. and he's been an outstanding football manager.
Of course, Spurs as well. Started strongly but finished outside the top four. But what does Ange need to do really?
Well, that's disappointing. Tottenham
Yeah.
outside the top four is not a good year for them.
Hmm.
They've got to be in that Champions League places for them to be successful. Finishing outside of that is they had an okay season, got knocked out the cups in early rounds in both competitions. So no, it wasn't a good year for Tottenham. No Champions League. They could be interested to see how they go this year. But they're not far away. They've got some good players. They improved last year. The two fullbacks were a big improvement. The centre half they brought in, Van der Ven, he came in and did well.
Hmm.
So yeah, they're there or thereabouts. They obviously you can't replace Harry Kane because he was irreplaceable. He was so good. But that is the problem. Finding a striker, they need to find somebody up front.
And of course, the last three: Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. Liverpool, as you already said, Harry, is a bit of a concern. Of course, Arne Slot has come in, taken over the big shoes of Jurgen
Yeah.
Klopp. And do you feel that they need a little bit of a reset, Liverpool?
Yeah, I mean, they lost their way late in the season, didn't they? One minute they were fighting for everything, so it was a disappointing end of the season for them. But yeah, he's got it all on, the new guy. He's following, a very charismatic man in Klopp, big personality, big passion. The crowd loved him. At the end of the game, he used to go over to the crowd. They loved it. The cop used to love him. It's not going to be easy shoes to follow. Robertson, the best left back around, had injuries.
Yeah.
Van Dijk, is he quite what he was? He hasn't looked it to me. Late in the season and in the Euros, and so I don't know. They've got some. I think it's going to be a more difficult season for them next year. I wouldn't see them winning the league. They've got to be top four, but I just think they might be short of winning the title again. I see Man City and Arsenal. I see Arsenal, Man City scrapping it out again. To be honest.
I've got to agree with you on that, but I do agree. I think Arsenal will shade it this time round.
I was hoping you were going to have a bet with me there, Craig. I was hoping you were going to say, I think Man City. So I just say, okay, I'm going to double 2 bottles of wine or none.
Oh no, I honestly think Arsenal. I'm
Come on, then,
with
I'm
you
going to
on.
let you choose a bet. Come on, choose a bet then to double. Either no wine or 2 bottles of wine. You can name the. Give us a bet, and we'll see how we. Who do you fancy to do well next year?
Well, I'll tell you what. Who do you think? Which three teams do you think will go down? Because I've got one side in mind who I reckon you might say will go down, who I think will stay up.
Who you got? Ipswich?
Yes, I think Ipswich will stay up.
Could do. Could do. No, I was gonna have. I don't want to bet against Bournemouth because I want Bournemouth to do fantastic again. Come on then, I'll have Southampton. Oh no, not Southampton. I don't want to. You got Ipswich. Who could I have with against you?
Oh wow!
Or do you want to have a bet higher up the league? Who's
Let's
you
have.
fancy?
Well,
Who's you fancy to finish highest? Newcastle
or Chelsea.
or
Chelsea
Chelsea?
would be
Who
an
do you think?
interesting one. I think Newcastle, if Eddie stays, will finish higher than Chelsea will do. I just can't.
I think you are definitely right, but I will still have a bet with you. Go on.
Go on then.
You've got Newcastle. I've got Chelsea.
Yeah, I
But
think. And
I must admit, I would, if you give me the choice, I'd have said Newcastle. But I gave you the choice, and you've got Newcastle. I'll take Chelsea.
the question is really, if Newcastle don't make progress this year, are the Saudi owners going to give Eddie more time? That's another
That is
big
your
question.
problem. Who knows in football, Craig? Who knows?
But of course, Chelsea, Enzo Maresca coming in, and They have got potential embargoes coming into place, and
Yeah.
they've got
Oh,
these
no
long.
wonder you've lumbered me up with bloody Chelsea.
Well, if as long as you're sure,
No, I don't mind. Go on.
yeah, I'll go for Newcastle. But I still owe you that bottle of wine, though, Harry.
No, it's
After
double or
Everton,
nothing. Double or nothing.
double or nothing. There we go. Okay. Well, I say Newcastle. You say Chelsea. 2 bottles of wine at the end of this season. But
No, 2 bottles of wine if I win. None
yeah,
if you win. It's double or nothing.
yes,
See
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, definitely, mate,
Yeah, that is
definitely.
how it works. You owe me 1. Now it's double. If I win, I get 2. But if you win, we're back to level.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I've got my fingers crossed for
Okay.
Eddie and Newcastle. But before I let you go, Harry, do you think Bournemouth will finish higher or lower than we did last season? Of course, finished 12th, 48 points. I think a really, really good result
Yeah, I think we'll
considering.
finish higher.
Yeah.
I do. I think we could finish a couple of places up. Yeah, and I think we'll get 52, 53 points. Yeah,
Do you think that might be enough for Europe or not?
could be. Could be. I don't know. I'm not sure. Is it top 8?
It would be the top 7,
Oh,
but unless one other team, say for example, Manchester United took the place of Newcastle last season because they won the FA Cup.
yeah.
So if, say for example, Man City win the FA Cup, then it should go down to 7th place. 7th would be unbelievable considering where this football club's come.
Oh, 7th. Listen, if you, it's beyond belief. People don't understand. 7th in the Premier League. Honestly, I mean, we've struggling to finish 7th in the 4th division for 100 years.
Yeah.
Let alone 7th in the Premier League. This is incredible. Fantastic.
Andoni Iraola has proved me wrong because, of course, I said at the start of the season, after those 9 games, I don't think it's going to work. The style's not going to work. But personally, he's done an outstanding job, hasn't he?
Yeah, very good. Got good players, getting the best out of them. Yeah, done a
And of
good job.
course, we've
Well,
signed as well, or should be signing, Dean Howson as well over the next couple of days. So
where's he from?
he's actually signing. He was on loan at Roma last season, but he's part of the Juventus School of Excellence. So he's worked his way through that, and he's a Dutch player. But I think he's a central
Was he
defender.
Dutchman, is he?
Yeah. So
Was he in the World Cup squad, in the Euro squad?
he wasn't. No, he's only a youngster, but
Yeah.
he has got a real good. And to be honest, Neil Blake and Pinto and Simon Francis, what they're doing is carrying on what Richard Hughes has done, haven't they? Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose, yeah, who finds the players, I don't know. They've obviously got uh, good contacts, and they recommending these players, a good scouting system.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Neil's done a great job, but Neil's not going out looking at players and bringing players in, is he? It's not his forte. He wouldn't. He'd be the first to say he's not an expert on choosing footballers, but he's run the club fantastically well. Done a great job.
Most definitely. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, another positive season for AFC Bournemouth. Harry,
Without a doubt, another exciting season to look forward to, and got great owners now, and the new training ground and academy or whatever. Things are just amazing. It's been fantastic. Long
definitely.
may it continue.
Well, Harry, thank you so much again for joining us on
Richard
the show.
Craig,
Always a pleasure to have you on,
good
and no
talking
doubt
to you.
catch up so very soon.
Bye, mate.
Thanks. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here at the Cherries and All Departments. Now, do also check out our previous interview with Harry Redknapp. It is on the channel. It was about 3 years ago, but it's a great interview, and please do check it out. Also, we did speak to Harry about players that he bought through the academy at West Ham United and spotting real talent as well. We've also had Harry on when he spoke to us after our 3-2 win against Tottenham Hotspur. And of course, we've got our previous season previews. So go check those out and see how close we were. We've also had lots of other special guests. We've got more coming. We've got players on this channel and also special guests with opposition preview shows. So, for example, we have had the likes of Tiff Nadell, who is a Southampton fan, about his thoughts ahead of next season. We've had Richard Archer from Hardfi, Adam Devlin from the Blue Tones, Richie Neville from Five, Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays, Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene, Peter Hooton from The Farm, amongst many, many others as well. So do go check out all of those interviews, all of the player interviews. It is on the interview tab. We're also going to be doing our cherry picking show and also a new feature as well on this channel, which is called This is Football. We're going to be discussing not just the Premier League, but all the leagues across English football and beyond as well. And that show is, of course, including Manny, our man that knows a lot. So it will be a pleasure to welcome him back on for those shows. So until the next one, thank you for joining us and all the very, very best to all teams for the next season. Just up the cherries.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.